YouTube, Matt here from the Gear Shed again. Now, out in our backyard again. It's a bit frosty as you can see. Frosty morning. As it's getting a bit cold, I thought it might be a time to bust out some of me cookers. We're going to be looking at doing a trip after Christmas up in the snow. And now around Snowdon somewhere, so we thought I better brush the cobwebs off the big boys and pull out all my liquid fuel stoves and cold temperature stuff. And what I thought we'd do today is we do a few little lighting videos, and a bit of quick review so you can see some ins and outs of them. So we're going to firstly do this guy here, which is a Svea 123R, which is a really old school vintage kind of stove. And then we're also going to maybe do a couple of reviews on these. I've got a MS Dragonfly and a very old MS Whisperlight. I've actually just replaced a pump on this because the old pump is toast. I've had it, I think it works out, I had it 20 odd years. So the cooker itself, perfectly fine. Pump, seen better days, so got a new one of those. So it's quite good, you can still get parts that all work well with them. So, back to this beast. So this is a Svea 123R, it's an Optimus stove. It's a very old school stove, runs on white gas and unleaded petrol. It has no pump, self-pressurizing. Which means if you're not careful with it, you can turn it into a little brass grenade. So you need to learn how to look after it and light it and get it to work on this beast. So what we're going to try and do is give it a light. We're going to use some meths to light it. So I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see how that goes. It's probably maybe a little bit cold for it to get started. The thing with these is that because it's self-pressurizing, so it hasn't got a pump, so what you need to do is heat the actual stove up itself to get it to push the fuel through. It's very, very simple. There's no moving parts, there's no pumps, there's no plastic bits to go wrong. You can basically douse this in fuel and light it and it'll work. Essentially it's got a little valve in here, comes with this key, turn on and off, so there's no plastic knobs or anything like that, and it has a fuel filler cap. So this integrated into this cap is a little pressure release valve. So if this gets too hot, this will blow out the side and you'll get a nice big streamy jet of flaming fuel. That'll wake you up in the morning. So with this particular design, you don't want to put cover it with a windshield or anything like that. It will get too hot and it will actually vent this. And you'll see people talking about it on the internet about the old days. Oh, it's like a grenade. Well, it's probably because you're doing something wrong. It got too hot. You over insulated it, you put too much shielding around it. So yeah, that's one to look out for. Essentially it's all brass and steel. It's around about half a kilo, so about 500 grams thereabouts, give or take, without the fuel in it. So it's fairly robust. Basically the only things that can really go wrong with it is you lose the key, so you can't turn the thing on and off. And these little pot supports at the top here, the little steel pot supports, they've been known to fall out. If you're not careful, they'll fall out and disappear. So what we'll do is we'll stick it on. This just slots on. We're going to try and do this one-handed. This is stupid little. I took the there we go. Took the chain off it, so we won't bother with that. So what you want to do is we'll just stick it on there so I can get the old key in. Oops, sorry, just giving you a picture of the desk. Come here, you mongrel. There you go. That's better. Okay, so what we have to do is get it up to pressure. So to do that, two ways you can do it. You can either use the fuel out of the fuel tank. So people use a straw, pop it in and put your finger in the straw and pull it out and then douse it on. Or I usually use a little kid's plunger out of a like a liquid Nurofen container. They come with these little syringes. Use that, just pull the fuel out, stick it in the top. So today we're going to try and use some methylated spirits. So what we'll do is we'll douse the living crap out of it. So it has like a little reservoir in the bottom here. Oops, he says squirting it everywhere, but where he needs it. So, oops, stick it in there. Okay, put this back on the top. Okay, and then we're going to light it. Today we're not going to mess around, we're going to try and use this guy. This is a bit cold actually, so it was struggling before when I was trying it. Getting the fuel out, it's just a straight butane torch. So, didn't like coming out of the shed and at that temperature. Everything being cold, this is basically all brass and steel, so it does take a bit to get up to speed. That methylated spirit's burning there. and I've not insulated it from the cold wooden table, so it's probably struggling a little bit to get up to speed. So this is what they call plate burner. So underneath this little steel plate there's a little jet that squirts the fuel up onto the plate on the side of that, and it all can make the flame come out the sides here. So fingers crossed it's going nice and warm. So the other trick with this is there's actually a concave on the bottom of the tank, so the other trick is to flip it upside down and just fill it up with fuel and whack a match in it and stand back, and once it gets bright enough, hot enough. So with these things, oh, we've got fuel coming out, so we're going to have a big bang in a minute. Oh, hang on a minute, turn this guy does not like going at the moment. There we go! Right, so the whole idea with this is that it's a lot of finicking around to get the fuel right, to get it started. So that's just a bit of, it's just to leave a little bit of pressure there that popped a bit of fuel out. You probably won't be here, it'll start to hiss a little bit. Now it's not the quietest of cookers, it is a bit of a rowdy beast. Right, how are we getting on there? There we go. And so what will happen is that the pressure will increase, you start hearing a bit of a pulsing, like a steam engine going on. Once the pressure gets hot enough, once the pressure builds up inside the tank, that's probably still burning at a pretty dirty flame at the moment. Puff, 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 puff. And so once it starts, and it'll change the pitch. And the thing with this one is that my actual nozzle is not quite centered. You can see over this side, on this side, this flame, it's not as big as these others, so it's just off slightly, which does happen. You knock it quite a bit and go from there. So it's a pretty robust beast. There's nothing to go wrong with it, and although I have these guys which are far more useful for actually cooking on, I do like this. I do keep coming back to it. I do take it around quite a bit because it's just bomber. There's not much you can go wrong with it. There's no pump cups to wear out, there's no O-ring seals to go wrong, nothing really. You just kick it on, away you go. So this is still not quite. Oh, that's what I've done. That's a trick for on players. So what happens there is with this particular one, the 123R, so there's two versions of this. There's a standard one, which is the old school one, and then the R. And the R comes with a cleaning wire that goes up through the jet. And what happened there is I turned it too far and it pushed the thing up, so it basically slightly blocks off the fuel, and then that's why it went out. So let's try doing this one-handed a little low. So still, you can see it's quite adjustable. So you can crank it down. Right, so we'll turn it off and we'll have a bit of a talk about it. So there you go. So it's reasonably easy to like once you have got the hang of it. So basically it's all about practice. Get that going. But yeah, I do like it. It's a cool little piece of machinery. It's that old sort of, I think it's nearly over 100 years old, the design. It's very similar to a lot of the old kerosene cookers. People like Shackleton and those sort of guys used to take to Antarctica. It's basically the same principle from there. So pros and cons. Small fuel tank is a bit of a bugger. So if you're going from like more than a few days, so if you go winter time and you're doing a lot of snow mounting and stuff, the tank is quite small, and you've got to be careful because if you run it too much with the if you run out of fuel and still use it, what will happen is that there's a little wick that goes up inside that wicks the fuel up, and you can char that, which is a bit of a bugger. Good thing about it though is you still get parts for it. There's still plenty of parts kicking around. There's a couple of places in the UK that I don't get parts, or Optimus. When I first got this, I had an issue with the jet, and they sent me a new jet. So from there, yeah, not much else to say. It's a great little cooker. People sort of scoff at it because it's all made of brass, but I like it. I still use it quite regularly. It has had a reasonably good life with me. The other key notes, the key, that's another little trick. A lot of people put the key in to turn the old fuel on and off and go, yeah, it's all good. Start doing their cooking, and then they leave this on. He says trying to do this with one hand. Get in here, mongrel. There we go. Leave the key on, and of course what happens there is that the key heats up, and they go and turn it off, and that's hot. Alright, so you always remember to take your key out. Yeah, beautiful. So this came in, as I said, came in a couple of options. The standard one, the 123, was without the jet cleaner. 123R came with the jet cleaner. Also, I think it came as what they used to call as a tourist. So it came as a whole set. I think minus this, he had a couple of pot sets and stuff with it that go with it. And then also there's the Swedish made versions and Chinese ones. And unfortunately, this is actually a Chinese one. And having seen the Swedish one, there's not a huge amount of difference, but obviously might be a difference in quality. It's a typical thing when companies try and go offshore and go from there. So what else? What does it come with? It comes with what you see here. And also the world's smallest little pot. It's basically a cup. On the top here you can turn these guys in. Those are going to be a bit warm. Oh, turn them in like that. Turn it in. Oh, turn it in. And your pot goes on top. Ta-da. Not the biggest thing in the world. I hardly ever use that. It's a pain in the ass really. And this handle, you keep losing the handle. There you go. So that gives you an idea. So that's a Svea 123R. Quick rundown of how to light it. My thoughts on it. Good cooker, like it. Use it quite a bit. So yeah, and a quick recap. Downsides: small fuel tank. You still, if you're going for a week, you're still going to have to take a fuel bottle, and it is a bit of a bugger because it's quite a small fuel hole, so it's very, very hard to fill. So you might need to take a funnel with it as well. All right. So thank you guys. We'll move on. We'll do some more. We'll do a couple of reviews on these guys. Remember, comments in the comments box. Let me know if you've got any tips or tricks on these. There's a few old blokes around that have got them. Remember to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Cheers.